I remembered this time. And then I'm going to share my screen. And here we are. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the February 3rd meeting of the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise. I can't believe it's February, but here we are. Thank you, Jim Goodenough, for being our greeter this morning. And Jim Glom, do you have the pledge today?
Yes, I do. And in preparation for this, I thought about the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's a serious commitment. It begins by us putting our hand on our heart, the focus of love and conviction and
Courage.
Yeah, courage. And it talks about standing under God. And to me, I could rephrase that into love and service, a very Rotarian pledge. And it ends with liberty and justice for all. And again, that's very Rotarian because liberty means everyone gets their fair share, I think, and justice also. So as Rotarians, we can really make this pledge real. So let's repeat the pledge with our hand on our heart slowly and think of the words as we say them. Begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic
stands
nation under God,
nation
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So Jim Gilliam, this is the morning of the Jims. So
Yes.
Jim Gilliam,
I'm here.
do you have a thought for the day for us?
I do. Good friends are like stars. Sometimes you don't always see them, but you know they're always there.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome.
So Joe, do you have a
So,
song?
Barbara, take
What
a
do you
look out the window there. Looks like a, whoops, almost lost you. Looks like a pretty nice morning, huh?
You know, I look out my den window here and I see the trees, and the sun has just started hitting some of the trees in the background. Really would be a
pretty
beautiful
nice.
photograph. So it is.
That said,
beautiful
for
morning.
the first time in 2021, it's time for Oh, What a Beautiful Morning.
Yes, it is.
And I think we all know the words.
Yes.
There's a bright,
golden haze
on
In
the
the
meadow.
meadow,
There's a bright
golden
haze on the
meadow.
The
The corn is as high
as
as
the
the mountainside.
and
It
it
looks
looks
like
it's
it's
climbing
climbing
up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
I got a beautiful feeling.
Everything's
going
Motley as usual. So we don't have any cyber Rotarians today, but we do have numerous guests. So first we have Anna, our former exchange student from Brazil. Yay, Anna, and we'll hear a little bit more from you later. And then from Laguna High School, we have our principal, Allie Green. We have our wonderful, what do we want to call her? The person who does everything else that Allie doesn't do, Kimberly Nyborg. And we have our student of the month, Ashley, and we'll hear from them in a little bit. Do we have any other guests? No? Woohoo! So let's wave. Good morning, everybody, or do hugs, whichever you want, because we sure do miss being able to do it in person. And I shall mute everybody, because that is my great privilege as host. Woohoo. And we'll do our student of the month. So Bob Keyser, take it away.
Good morning, Rotarians. I would like to introduce this morning, and I'm sorry, Ashley, I don't know if I have this right. Ashley Gorgizian. Yes? Ashley?
It's Gorgesian.
I didn't.
We couldn't hear you, Ashley.
Pretty close. It's pronounced Gorgesian.
Yeah. Good Armenian name.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, this is a new one for me. I've been doing this for a few years, but Ashley does not come from another school. I mean, if I remember right, Ashley, you were doing online up to this point, yes?
Yeah.
And she's currently a senior, yes?
Yeah.
And she's come to Laguna just so she can just kind of like finalize all her credits and graduate this year. Her favorite subject there and online, I guess, would be English. Science, not so much. And what she does when she's not doing the English and the science is she's a barrel racer and does gymkhana.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. And her plan after this is to go to the JC. She doesn't really have a burning desire at this point to go into anything, but she's kind of going to take care of the general eds and keep her eyes open as far as what she wants to do after this. So, Ashley, would you like to say a little bit something about yourself that I haven't?
No, you pretty much said everything.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Have you been given the plaque yet?
No.
Oh,
But I
Have you
have
seen-
it.
oh, okay.
Kimberly has it. Yay.
We'll
Yeah,
get
we-
it to you, honey.
Yeah, the logistics of this all becomes stretched out. At this point, at the meeting, I would be handing it to you, and I'd be reading off what the plaque says. And the plaque says is that, well,
Kimberly.
prior to giving you the plaque, I would be saying, this honor has been, you were decided to receive this honor by the staff and the teachers at Laguna High School for your rigor and your attitude about being in school and doing what you need to do. And also I would be handed, and you'll be getting this at another point, a cash award for this. So congratulations, Ashley.
Yay. And Ashley, at this point, normally we would be giving you a standing ovation because this is really an accomplishment for you. And Laguna is the best school ever, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, word.
And Allie, would you like to say anything about Ashley?
I just want to say that we are so proud of Ashley. She is, I think, our top GPA in the entire school. And
Wow.
a phenomenal job. And she probably hates being the center of attention like this. So I'm sorry, Ashley, you're just gonna have to live with it. But we're so proud of you and we can't wait to see all the amazing things you do with your life.
Yay, thank you. And Ashley, don't worry about not knowing what you want to do when you graduate. All I wanted to do was get out of the house. So, go to the JC, take classes that you're curious about, and you never know what you might find that will just spark you. I mean, other than, of course, horses, because we already know that you love horses. And they do have a great ag program. So congratulations, Ashley. And again, standing ovation to you.
Great job, Ashley.
Yep.
Congratulations, Ashley.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, Laguna people.
Bye.
Okay, so we have a birthday. Darlene, you're going to have a birthday on Friday.
Yeah.
Are you going to
I
do
am.
anything exciting?
Well, I'm working Saturday and Friday.
Yeah, well, we know that.
And Eric is going to attempt to make dinner for me.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. The man can't cook.
Well, you know,
It'll be interesting.
there's always takeout.
That's true. I tried that, but he's actually going to try cooking. So
Aha.
we'll see how it goes.
Well, good. We hope you have a happy birthday. Even if you have to, well, you know, if you celebrate more on Saturday night, then you don't have to get up on Sunday morning as early.
True. True.
So, well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
No happy anniversaries, but Rod McCauley, I see you here. You had a Rotary anniversary on January 30th. So, Rod, where'd you go?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here, yay.
Here again. I've been here about, I think it's 19 years or 20. I'm not sure. Marty Webb was my sponsor, and I'm delighted for each of those years. They've been a part of my pleasure of living in Sebastopol.
Was there any particular aha moment or something that really stood out to you that really made you go, yes, this is why I'm in Rotary?
Well, there have been a few. There's just the friendship in the club that I treasure. But because of Rotary, I've been to India with Rotoplast that Jerry Meshalem is involved in, with other Rotarians, which was amazing. I've been to a Rotary meeting in Switzerland. I mean, just all sorts of unusual, exotic experiences just because of Rotary. And you know, you can go all the way around the world. And for me, I can either hook up with an Episcopalian or a Rotarian, and I have a friend wherever I might be.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, and we're glad you're here.
I am too.
So here's what's going on. First of all, Darlene, for your birthday, it is First Friday. I will be, sending out a Zoom link to everybody later this morning. And then we have the Super Bowl party, community service meeting on Monday at 5:30. What else is here? Oh, June 12th to the 16th. Guess what? David Mark Raymond isn't going to Taiwan. They have officially turned it into another virtual convention. So you'll be
I'm
hearing
going virtually. I'll be there for the whole thing. You can see me. Come join us. It's free.
Yes. Well, you have to register, but there's no cost. Other than that, I think everything else, we still have Michael McLaughlin has the information for the Redwood Empire Food Bank Workday. That's in 2 weeks. And remember that we work outside. It's social distanced. We wear gloves. It is a great experience, and we really do help our neighbors.
Sign up link is on the website.
Yep. Announcements. Well, I already did it, the virtual convention. So, David Mark Raymond.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, what is all of this?
What's all what?
Well, the Serve to Change, our new theme for next year.
Oh, I don't think you're screen sharing. We're looking at you.
What? I'm screen sharing.
I see it.
I see it.
I see it.
Oh, really?
I see it.
I see it.
Okay, I was just seeing her, and it was fantastic, but it wasn't serving to change lives. Well, it changed mine, just for a moment. So our incoming Rotary International President, Shikhar Mehta from India, revealed the new theme, which is Serve to Change Lives. We're going to be called the Change Makers. And he exhorts us to do the things that transform our communities, and says that service is the rent that we pay for the space that we occupy on this earth. And of course, we all want to be good tenants on this earth. So he says, if you got money, put it in. If you got heart, put it in. If you have talent, put it in. Dream big and go for transformation of important things. So we're going to be called for the next Rotary year, the Change Makers. Yay! The crowd roars.
Yay.
So I am excited about it and looking forward to the rest of this year and the start of the next.
Super. Well, while I'm thinking of you, Anna, why don't you give us an update on what you are up to? Our favorite former student.
So I'm about to start college next Monday. I'm really, really excited. It's gonna be distance learning in the beginning, but probably like in this month is we're already going to go to college like in presence. So I'm gonna be moving. I don't know if I told you guys, but my college is not in my home city, so I'm gonna be moving again and living far from home again. So I think my parents are starting to get used to this because yeah, so we're saving because I'm gonna be living somewhere else, and we're planning on doing I think you guys call it like a bridal shower, but I'm not getting married. It's just because I'm moving. So yeah. So that's what like people do when they get a new house in Brazil.
Housewarming. We call them housewarming.
Housewarming? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Or going away party.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and I started taking French classes. So I'm really excited because that's something I've been wanting to do for a while. David knows, like, when I was in the US, I tried to take French lessons at school, but they didn't let me because I didn't know any French, and it was like second level, so they didn't let me take it. So yeah, I'm really like going for it and really excited because I know it's gonna make a huge difference in my career to know French. Yeah, so that's like what I'm up to right now. I'm really focused on college and work, and I'm also I'm starting to get my driver's license. So yeah, my life is really busy right now. I'm really happy. Yeah.
Good. So will you be living in an apartment or will you be living in a dorm?
Yeah, I'm gonna be living in an apartment because we try to find a dorm. My college has a dorm, but it's like really expensive. It's not worth it. It's like way worthier. That's how you say worthier. If you live in an apartment. So we're talking to the person who owns the apartment to see if we can make a deal and pay a little less. And I think he's gonna let because he really liked me, so I'm really glad. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna be living, and it's really close to college, which is good because I'm gonna be studying from 6 to 10, so it's gonna be dark in the night when I go back home, and it's like 5 minutes from my college to my home, you know. So that's good. Yeah, and the city, yeah, and where I'm gonna be living, I think it's like smaller than Sebastopol, so it's really safe. Yeah.
That would be nice. That would be nice. And I'm sure your parents are going to miss you again, but you'll be closer this time.
Yeah, it's just like 2 hours from one place to another, so it's not that far. But
so we think of that as being close, but far enough away, but you can still go home and do laundry.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm excited though. I'm gonna be updating you guys. I got my, how do you call it in English, that like cooking the clothes. David, you know what I'm talking about? I sent you the picture.
It's an apron or a smock.
A smock?
Yeah,
Oh, and
it's
the
not an
hat.
apron. Yeah, and it has my name on it and the name of my college, so it's really cute.
That makes you official.
Yeah,
It's
it does. I'm
smock.
gonna show you guys just a sec. Here, that's what I got.
Nice. Oh yeah, your chef's coat.
Yeah, and it has like my name here.
Perfect.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Well, I'm
Yeah, I
sure
really.
that when you're cooking for yourself and your friends, you can cook some stuff that you learned how to cook while you were here.
Yes, I
A
will.
different cuisine.
Yeah, yeah. I really miss you guys, and I'm gonna go there as soon as I can. As soon as the pandemic is over, I'm gonna go there.
Yay. We
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So February in the Rotary universe is Peace and Conflict Prevention and Resolution Month. Every month has a theme. Peace is not the absence of conflict, the presence of creative alternatives for responding to conflict. And I can't read the rest of this, but this was the best picture I could find. So Charlie Judson, would you like to tell us about the event that we have that's going on tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, please? Where'd Charlie go?
He's there,
I know he's here.
signed in.
Charlie, there you are. For some reason, we can't
Unmute
hear you.
yourself, Charlie.
He is. Oh, now you're muted. You're unmuted.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Okay, I just pulled out my earphones and maybe it has something to do that there's no microphone on my little ear thing. Sorry about that. Yeah, so anyway, we're doing this tomorrow night. It's at 6 o'clock. And it's a lot of Rotarians are invited, particularly those ones in West County and up along the Russian River where the Sonoma West Publishers has their various newspapers. And so, think about what local news looks like without a local newspaper. And it's pretty grim, I think. No reliable reporting for school events, school trustees meetings, school sports, et cetera, et cetera. And as we all know, stories available on the internet without professional editing are prone to being wrong at best and misleading at worst. So anyway, it should be an interesting thing. It's Nancy Dobbs, formerly of KRCB, and Raleigh Atkins with Sonoma West Publishing, describing this new initiative that they have going. It's a public-private partnership, and it's one of a kind. Newspaper people across the country, media people across the country are watching how this goes for them. So if you're interested, see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And by the way, it's a different Zoom meeting invitation than this one. So if you want to attend, check back on the email that Barbara sent, and that Zoom link will do it for you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and the email I sent out, I don't think it has a link that works because I don't know how to do that in Pmail coming out of DACDB. But the flyer I sent out also has the meeting ID and the passcode. Or I can send that out again to everybody tomorrow morning. I might just do that. I'll send it out again to everybody tomorrow morning. But it should be really interesting because when you start thinking about the fabric of a community, a lot of that starts with the local paper. How how do we find, yeah, like Charlie said, how do we find out what's going on at the city council meetings? John Necker, we know that. But what about, you know, the school board meetings? What about the student of the month? What about all the other stuff that goes on locally here? A regional paper can only have so much in it. It's really critical for us as a community to be able to communicate accurately. So that's tomorrow. And if anybody has any questions, email me or email Charlie. And if you have questions that you want to have answered by Raleigh and Nancy, that would be great. But, you know, please come and join us. And
I have a question. I have a question, Barbara.
Yeah.
This is Michael. Is it possible to put the link information on our club's website as well so that it's easily found?
Jim, good enough? That's a question for you. He's there.
If possible, just email Jim and Linda.
I think one of the reasons that that wasn't requested is at a Zoom meeting last week that regarding the future of our democracy that also had Raleigh Atkinson involved. It was Zoom bombed, and towards the end of the meeting, because the link had been widely shared, somebody jumped in there complaining about the price of toilet paper, and the meeting had to the meeting had to end early. So
okay.
We're just sort of
that's fine.
Unfortunate.
Fine. Too bad.
Okay, so I will send out, and please, if you want to invite other members of the community, forward the email to them so they can join the meeting, since we are not going to put it on the website. Okay. Super Bowl party, quickly, Linda, what's going on? Unmute.
Okay, so Hip Pizzazz has online ordering, so order your pizzas for the party. We'll start at 3 o'clock. I will be sending out a different Zoom link than our normal club meeting link. And we're going to have a 50-50 opportunity drawing 100 square chart. $20 buy-in gets you 4 squares. I'm going to send out an email today, and the prizes are $25, $50, $75, and $100, and then the club will get $250. So it's a win-win.
This is after everybody pays.
Yes, we're Rotarians. Everybody who gives me their name will pay, and I know where you live if you don't. No, it's going to work out. It's a little tricky when we're not meeting in person, but we're going to do our best, and just really looking forward to at least checking in at the quarters. And yeah, so okay. Who's everybody rooting for?
A good game.
A good game. Sounds great. And maybe next year we'll get to be together. So look for the email today. Respond ASAP for the 50-50 opportunity.
Thank you. Should be fun. I mean, if nothing else, it's a good opportunity to eat.
Yes.
And don't forget, Hip Pizzazz has the best taco salad ever.
Yes. Thank you.
Week in review. Well, I'm going to kind of skip on this because we are real close to time for our speaker, but just very quickly, does anybody have any happy bucks?
I do.
Okay.
I'm going to be kicking off the second and final hospital editions of the Nepal Telemedicine Network tonight. So we'll be wrapping up that Global Green and ending with a flourish. So that's where.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Okay, so now we have our speaker, and I see she's here, and she needs to unmute. Charlie, are you going to do the introductions?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and I have enabled Alegria, if you have something, if you need to share.
So of course I'm having one of those
go ahead and
moments.
make the introduction if you don't mind. Yep. Thank you. So as part of our speaker series, our club's anti-racism task force is pleased to welcome Alegria de la Cruz Alegria spent her career in public service and public interest. She began working at the County of Sonoma in the County Counselor's Office in July of 2015. And in September of 2020, she was appointed to lead the Office of Equity. She serves on multiple boards, including Los Cien, Sonoma County, and Santa Rosa City Schools. Before joining the County of Sonoma, Alegria worked in public service and public interest for the state of California and the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment at the California Rural Legal Assistance. Alegria identifies as Chicana and recognizes, embraces, and celebrates her responsibility to contribute meaningfully to public service, social justice, and equity. So please welcome Alegria.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So I do have a PowerPoint, and I'm having one of those moments where everything on my computer has reset and requires me to reset everything. So I'm wondering if I can email it to somebody, or if you guys are okay with my just going ahead and chatting for a little bit.
Just go ahead.
Okay.
Most PowerPoints are too big for email.
Well, thank you so much for having me today, and to share a little bit about Sonoma County's Adventures in Equity with the creation of the new Office of Equity. I thought I'd start with something that the Office of Equity is working on, which is a land acknowledgement. And one of the things that a land acknowledgement does is really kind of ground us in the context in which we sit, and also the responsibility that that context creates. So I'm going to read it. It's a work in progress. We are hoping to continue consulting with our Native communities throughout Sonoma County to confirm that this, in fact, does justice to the history that we share. This land reflects our histories. We acknowledge the history of genocide, theft, forced removal, and broken promises. We celebrate the recognition that despite this history, this is still Indigenous land. It will always be Indigenous land. Indigenous people are not just in our histories. We say their names and acknowledge their presence and our responsibility to honor our word in the present. Miwok, Wapo, Southern Pomo, and Kashaya. And I start with that because I think it really lends some weight and some reality to what the definition of equity that the county is currently using. And so I just share that equity is an outcome where you can't tell the difference in critical markers of health and well-being and wealth by race or ethnicity, and a process whereby we explicitly value the voices and contributions of people of color, low income, and other underrepresented and underserved communities who identify solutions to achieve those outcomes. So we focus on race because sadly, race is still the single biggest indicator that tells us how you do, how healthy you are, how wealthy you are, how well educated you are. From infant mortality to life expectancy, race is still the single biggest indicator of well-being in our country. And we recognize that race is actually a social construct, that it was instituted as a way of justifying actions by the United States government, including the displacement of Native Americans and the enslavement of Africans. And it was used to determine who could hold US citizenship. From 1790 to 1952, the US granted citizenship only to people who were declared white by law. And the courts had the authority to determine who was white. So we have an amazing legal history of many, many different ethnicities coming to the Supreme Court of the United States to petition for whiteness in order to be granted the rights of citizenship to this country. So we see the ways in which race has really been used as one of the earliest bases in our country for creating distinctions between people. And those distinctions have resulted in distinct access to rights and privileges in our country. So we know we've moved from kind of explicit racism, right? Slavery, the Jim Crow era, laws and policies that governed who could marry, who could vote, who could own property, who could be a citizen. And we've moved into, moved through implicit racism, where many explicit racist laws were overturned and race neutral laws became the norm. But unfortunately, that discrimination continued to occur. And what we are really working on at the County of Sonoma is to recognize the ways in which colorblindness and race neutral policies have actually hurt our outcomes of being able to see and understand that racial distinctions and the way that they are continued to be used continue to create distinctions in well-being and in outcomes. We are still a very segregated society. even in Sonoma County here. Over 83% of homeowners are white in Sonoma County. Less than 11% of homeowners that are Latinx. And other races account for 4.8% of homeowners. Between 2000 and 2014, our population grew a total of 7%, but communities of color grew a total of 46%. And still, those BIPOC communities, BIPOC meaning Black, Indigenous, and people of color, continue to face lower wages and higher housing burdens. So the growth in population and the increase in kind of, those responsibilities didn't increase in the result in any growth or in income or any increase in political power in Sonoma County still. So we see these outcomes, we recognize that these are our realities, and we're asking ourselves at the county, how do we fix it? And what we are learning from best practices nationwide and regionally is that by explicitly seeing and addressing race as the biggest indicator to measure health, wealth, and well-being, we are able to proactively advance racial equity through data-driven, rigorous strategies. And by changing our processes that really invite communities who have been made vulnerable by our actions to the table in a different kind of a way. And we recognize the responsibility of government to really look at the ways in which our policies and our practices have led to those negative outcomes among communities of color. The Board of Supervisors has adopted as one of their 5 pillars for their strategic plan for the next 5 years, a race, equity, and social justice pillar. And what we do by adopting this pillar is recognize that our collective well-being, that our collective prosperity continue to be impacted by significant racial inequities. And so by focusing on race equity, by focusing on social justice in our strategic plan, the Board of Supervisors is attempting to institutionalize equitable practices and to address the disparate impacts on people of color, both internally as an organization and in the community. So what our goals are in that strategic plan pillar are to foster a county culture that supports the commitment to achieving racial equity. So we are really working on what is our internal culture about? What are we doing to unlock those lessons that we can learn best from our community and from people within our county structure who really represent those communities that they serve? We are implementing strategies to make the county workforce reflect the county demographics across all positions. So right now we understand from our demographics at the county that people of color still kind of retain the largest share of county workforce in entry-level positions and in lower-level positions. So we want to make sure that across the entire spectrum of positions at the county that we are truly reflective of the population that we serve. We believe that by doing that, we will ensure racial equity throughout county systems and services. So essentially by recognizing, people's lived experiences and what people bring to work every day because of who they are, whether those skill sets are being bilingual or being bicultural or being multiracial, that allows for a different way of serving the populations that make up Sonoma County. And the fourth goal here is to really recognize the ways in which different kinds of community engagement and really engaging key stakeholders in community to develop priorities to advance racial equity. This is a place of humility. We're recognizing that, we actually shouldn't know it all. And that what we really need to understand is our relationship to our community and how we invite them in to truly share solutions to the outcomes that they are experiencing every day. We are guided by the help of some really amazing organizations nationally that are doing this work with local governments. One in particular is called the Government Alliance on Race Equity. And that organization has helped a number of people throughout the county system go through a year-long process of really learning and developing a new skill set to bring these things to bear at the county. And by working with GARE, that's the name of the organization, we have really started to identify, what are the ways in which we are creating equity and making institutional change. And so we're really starting by normalizing. We are using a racial equity framework to develop a shared understanding. We're instituting a racial equity learning program throughout the county of Sonoma. starting from, our highest levels of leadership and making sure that that learning program is really also developed from those folks who every day are on the ground serving populations that most need us to understand why the outcomes that they're experiencing are our responsibility to address. We are in the process of choosing a consultant to work with us to develop that racial equity learning program. And we're hoping to be able to, use that racial equity learning program to really roll out how we are together really understanding the words that we use, the meanings that those words have, and how that drives us to affect change. The second pillar of organizational change that we're using in our philosophy here is organizing. And so we are recognizing that we're building our organizational capacity by supporting the creation of an infrastructure throughout the county system. We are 26 departments strong. We are over 4,000 individuals throughout the county as a whole. And so we're really recognizing the ways in which an institutional structure is going to be critical in order to support this kind of change. So we're working right now to develop something called the Equity Core Team. And this is a recognition that, my little department is 3 people strong, and 3 people are not going to be able to necessarily make the changes throughout the county systems that will truly change outcomes. And so we are working to identify and have people self-identify themselves as equity champions to join this core team. So in each department, essentially having people embedded who have an enhanced skill set and some ability to really bring to bear the lessons of being trained in race equity principles to the day-to-day work of being a public servant in the county of Sonoma. And the third kind of pillar in this institutional change model that we're applying is to operationalize. And so as we build up that structure and as we build up our own capacity internally, what that allows us to do is to implement racial equity tools to really examine our policies, our programs, and our practices that can perpetuate inequity. We are looking really deeply at our data. We are looking and asking ourselves, what is the data that we have? What does that tell us? What data don't we have that we need to collect? And how can we make sure that we are really kind of setting those goals and measuring progress using that data? So we are really hoping that we are not stuck in just a conversation as we make sure that we are rolling out this learning program. The learning program is intended to be designed with metrics built into it. So we're really going to be looking at the ways in which, we are measuring what we do better now that we know better. To take that Maya Angelou quote and operationalize it at the County of Sonoma. We are making sure that as we build out our racial equity learning program, that we are attaching metrics and measurements into understanding how we are going to really evaluate what it is that we're doing. Let's see. I think the thing that I really want to lead with or to end with here as we jump into a conversation is the ways in which, this is a community partnership, these efforts. This is, we are really excited to see many different jurisdictions within the county also engaging in these important conversations. The context that we all find ourselves in, the time that our country is in and that our community is in, allows us an opportunity to really come together in a different kind of a way to have different conversations and to make sure that we're having different voices at the table. The goals that the county is undertaking right now, I think is also amazing that we have support from all 5 board members on our board of supervisors, and they have really kind of shown, the ways in which coming to the table and saying we don't have the answers and these outcomes are not acceptable to us anymore. And so we really want to take an active step in making sure that we are addressing these things, that we are articulating clearly the concerns that we have and recognizing that we have an opportunity right now to do this together. So one of the questions that I'd love to know are, what are the equity efforts that are going on at the Sebastopol Rotary? Are there areas of opportunity where we might partner together, where it makes sense to conduct an equity analysis, And what are the ways in which your work is aligning with these countywide efforts? How can we really come together in this moment to support each other's work moving forward? In my little PowerPoint here, which I will share, I saw a note in the chat hoping that I would share it. I will send it to Charlie, whose email I have. There's a link in the PowerPoint that allows you to subscribe to our monthly, more or less monthly newsletter that we send out to keep folks abreast of what's happening in the Office of Equity and what new things and what new opportunities are available for our community as a whole to engage in. I'm happy to take any questions. I know I kind of rushed through that presentation. Unfortunately, without the PowerPoint coming up, it just seems to be a little bit of an information dump, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk with you today and to see, what are the ways in which we can continue to work together.
Thank you. So who has questions, please unmute yourself and maybe raise your hand. That might help identify who, so we can kind of keep it orderly. So questions, comments? Oh, come on, folks.
So
I know it's early in the morning. Michael Phelps.
I have a question.
Michael Phelps.
And one of the most fraught areas in the county government for equity issues, from my perspective, is the sheriff's office and policing. And so I'm curious whether that's how you're meeting that particular challenge and how cooperative they are.
That's a great question. One of the things that we're really hoping to do is by working with, kind of early leaders in equity in the County of Sonoma with specific departments, is to really elevate best practices and ways to come into this work that will kind of pave a path for other folks who are interested in finding, their tools and their goals. As we create the core team, this group of individuals throughout the county as a whole who are working with the Office of Equity to develop, racial equity learning programs that are really relevant to their department goals, their department day to day. Our IT system, for example, is going to have very different outcomes and goals than our justice partners. And so what we are hoping to do is organize in the ways in which we typically organize ourselves in service areas and in other ways of understanding our work together, to kind of share those practices across county systems. So we're hoping that, as we connect the dots between the ways in which we do our work and our outcomes, that we are, like I said, paving that path, that we're creating different systems of accountability, that we're really using data to have people take a good hard look at themselves, at us, and to find ways through that. I know you're aware of the ways in which, the sheriff, being his own elected official, can create some institutional challenges to kind of direct policy direction to the sheriff. And so I think that one of the most important things about this work is that it really is a community effort, that we're moving forward in ways that are about creating new tools and new measures of accountability so that we can judge as a community as a whole, and we can understand the impacts that practices and policies have on communities of color in particular.
Okay, Michael Phelps, you had your hand.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alegria, for that presentation. It was very clear. And we did establish back several months ago an anti-racism task force here within our local Rotary Club. And a large part of that has been having speakers speak on these topics, which I think I hope it's been helpful to our membership in terms of education. But are there other things that you can think of that as a small community-based organization we could do that would support your work and also move the needle a bit forward in terms of providing education and action for our membership?
I think that's a great question, Michael, and that really gets to this ways in which this is a community effort and that we will be stronger when we are connected. And so, one of the hardest things that I'm facing right now is that we are building this plane as we are about 50,000 feet in the air. And so we are still in, a process of making sure that we all have the same definitions for the words that we're using. And so one of the things that I would love to do as we roll out, our racial equity learning program and really develop it is have some consultation, opportunities with community partners to make sure that it's consistent with, and it's clear and it's understandable and it's something that can be applied outside of county government structures and really into our larger community. And so, as we work with our consultant to develop this learning program, coming and testing it out on folks, how does this fall with you? Does this make sense to you? Is this able to be something that is clearly and easily understood, and can these tools and this new understanding really help us to do differently? And so I think the more we talk about it, right, that's that normalizing pillar of the institutional change model that we're using. The more fluent we all get, and the more, I love being in places of discomfort. Frankly, that means we're growing together. And so, the more willing we are to be in those places of curiosity and discomfort together as a community, I think that we will all benefit from that. So I'd love to be able to come back with, this is an outline of how we are intending to learn about this stuff and how we're intending on rolling it out. And here are some of the definitions we're using, and really to get some feedback from you.
That would be wonderful. And I think we'd be very receptive to being involved with you.
Yes, and Michael Fells, I think this would be wonderful for you and your task force if you could be, keeping an eye on all of this and keeping us updated.
Sure.
Maybe
we'll be glad
once
that's
something.
The point of contact.
Yeah.
So Michael Cook, you had a comment?
Yeah, one was, I appreciated how you began with acknowledging the land. And I've read books where they talked about the special attention that Native peoples give the land. And we heard from a member who's talked about the legacy of redlining and all, which doesn't really kind of begin to address the whole thing, but that's so recent that it was the official government policy to do that. I'm wondering a couple of things, if there's a way of addressing kind of that you guys have identified, of addressing the unequal outcomes in terms of housing in particular. Who are you linking with on that?
That is a great question. So, I think the county has long identified housing as a huge need. At the same time that our tiny little community development commission has struggled through some pretty significant leadership changes and staff changes. And the question has, I think, come up over and over again, which is, what is really the county's role in developing housing and developing affordable housing? At the county council's office, we worked to develop something called the Renewal Enterprise District, which was, a joint powers authority beginning with the city of Santa Rosa and the county of Sonoma, to really identify that, that city-centered growth in housing, really located at, near transportation hubs, allows for some of that, that continued development of downtowns, of places where people can get around and can shop and can walk, and do less driving. All of those steps also have enormous impacts on, the health and well-being of people of color, who also tend in our country and in our county to be located in some of those urban centers. And so, I think the county, through both the creation of the Renewal Enterprise District, we call it the RED, as well as, really looking deeply at, how do we best partner with the private sector? How do we best subsidize affordable housing? And how do we make sure that housing is available to folks? One of the single, hardest things in our country is the ways in which federal money can be restricted to people who are not documented. The ways in which federal policies make it difficult for us to say we are going to have a local preference for new affordable housing programs or projects that allow for folks near the new development to be considered first, right? So there's a lot of structural challenges that when we take other people's money that we create. And I think there's a lot more flexibility that we have when we use our own money and can decide, how we use it. And so it's really this question of, the devil's in the details, and how are we leveraging some of these things with a very specific focus on, changing the outcomes for people of color. I would say the other structural thing in California that makes this conversation difficult is Proposition 209, which bars public agencies from using race as a criteria in hiring, in the distribution of public services, in contracting. And so, we are challenged by some of the ways in which our systems continue to prefer race neutrality, actually to the detriment of really being able to address race equity. So that was a long, complicated, convoluted combination of answers. But I think that, together, as we develop these champions in each of these areas of the county, we're really able to start coming up with these solutions, because it certainly isn't going to come from me. It's not going to come from any one person. It's really going to come from a united effort to identify those solutions together with our community.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions or comments?
Bill?
Okay, Bill.
Several comments. There have been several studies done in completely different fields. One was in the field of orchestras, where it was male versus female. And for years, they had not only interviews, but tests where they would listen to the performers, but it was in person. And invariably, it went to the males. They went to a system where they were behind a blind, and immediately there were changes, and they were hiring based on performance and not on gender. Secondly, there were studies on that had to do with both housing and applications for loans, where white names like McLaughlin and Cook and Sauber were substituted for with the exact same resume, Hernandez and De La Cruz and Kwame Jones, and invariably there was bias. Are there ways that the county can, number one, perform job interviews on a blind basis, similar to what orchestras did? And number two, look at resumes that are candidate XYZ as opposed to Bill Sauber or Alegria de la Cruz, to bring neutrality into that. You're muted.
Yeah.
That's a great question, Bill. Actually, so I'm hiring for an administrative aide in my office right now. And one of the things that I asked our HR department to do was to black out the names and the schools of people. I really want to try and see how that goes. That is a best practice that is being used throughout many jurisdictions to really see the ways in which, our implicit bias, not because we are bad people, not because we have any malintent. The reality is that, after hearing about the history of our country, we all carry these biases. I certainly carry these biases because I'm an American who has been here for 4 generations, and that's the history that I carry with me. And so I'm really curious of what it's going to be like to review people's applications for a job without knowing their names, their gender, their race, their ethnicity. And also I think the really important step of saying, if recognizing what privilege it is to be highly educated or to be differently educated, and to say, if you've gone to college and you've made it through, I don't care where that is. My goal is to really understand, who you are as a person, how you work, and that can be done through an in-person interview without necessarily needing to know all of those additional details that can add, opportunities for bias to involve our decision making. So I'll let you know how it goes. I've never before been part of an application review where I won't get to see people's names, and I'm really curious. But there are a number of different processes right now where different departments are actually considering exactly that step. So I'm excited, and we'll see how it goes. But that is a wonderful idea, and it comes from many institutions recognizing that again, this isn't about intent. This is really about trying to address those historical structures which they impact our decision making, whether we like it or not.
Great. Thank you very much. This has been a great program. And we're very thrilled that the county is taking these steps, and that, I know the county has its upstream investment program or concept, and I'm sure this will all get integrated into that and how they allocate and develop programs they're going to fund and partner with. And it is exciting. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And
I will send my presentation to Charlie, and I look forward to being in touch with you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I will go back to sharing my screen. Slideshow from current. No, I have to go. There we go. Whoops. So Joe Gazowitz has our Way Clean joke today.
I do. And it's also going to
laugh.
serve. It's going to serve a dual purpose because it's also a little bit of an education.
Okay.
And for those of you who remember the TV show Cheers, there was a lot of, it was funny, but there was a lot of things that you may have even learned and you didn't even realize it. So the Clavin theory is one of the things. It's the best proof that beer actually makes you smarter. So it's one afternoon at Cheers, Cliff Clavin was explaining the buffalo theory to his buddy Norm. And here's how it went. Well, you see, Norm, it's like this. A herd of buffalo can only move as fast as the slowest buffalo. And when the herd is hunted, it is the slowest and the weakest ones at the back that are killed first. This natural selection is good for the herd as a whole because the general speed and health of the whole group keeps improving by regular killing of the weakest members. In much the same way, the human brain can only operate as fast as the slowest brain cells. Excessive intake of alcohol, as we know, kills brain cells, but naturally it attacks the slowest and weakest brain cells first. In this way, regular consumption of beer eliminates the weaker brain cells, making the brain a faster and more efficient machine, and that's why you always feel smarter after a few beers. Don't you feel smarter after a few?
Absolutely.
So this explains what happened to Cliff Clavin on Jeopardy. So thank you. That's a good one. I like that one. So Michael Fells, who was the magic number 30 for the wonderful.
The lucky winner is our friend PJ.
PJ. Okay, PJ, I've got your name on the back of the ticket. I will scratch it and let you know if you won anything, but I have to say our record is friggin' dismal.
$4.
Yeah. Woohoo. So Joe.
Yep, as Roy Rogers flies to the west, here we go. Happy trails to you. Until we meet again.
First Friday.
Happy trails to you. Keep smiling on the way. Happy trails to you. Till we meet again.
So we'll meet again on Friday, 5:30 for First Friday, and to sing happy birthday to Darlene if she comes. Okay.
See you tomorrow night.
See
Have a
y'all.
great day, everybody.
Have a great day.
Goodbye, all.
It is a beautiful day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Hey, Chris.
There we go. Wow. Let's see. There's David. David's big. Okay, we're down to 8 people. So I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting for everybody.